Hey, good evening. I hope I am reaching all of you wherever you are, and we're going to spend this evening together talking about the most crucial part of the total journey that you have had, or the journey which is going to be completed soon. That is interview. आज इंटरव्यू के बारे में बात करेंगे हम लोग, and we would like to get you some points. I can promise that some of you may have never heard about. कुछ छोटे छोटे टूल्स के बारे में बात करेंगे. इनफैक्ट आई हैव डिवाइडेड माय इंटायर discussion of this evening into four exclusive parts that I can possibly say. One, I would like to tell you about the orientation कि इस personality test या interview के लिए orientation कैसे करते हैं, how to really go about preparing our mind for the same. And the second thing that we would like to talk about is that what are the aspects on which you should prepare. A lot of people say कि interview के लिए क्या तैयार करना है, personality test है, personality is already there, and you have a beautiful personality. I suppose that's good enough, and you should not worry about it and then just go and give the interview. But I think it's always good to be prepared, and I think that is important. And I like to talk about a few things which you can prepare now. Of course, when you're closer to the personality test, I'll have some separate set of advices given at that time. The third thing which I'm trying to do is that I'll give you certain tools, uh, very unique tools. It's not a very exhaustive list which I can possibly give because they all depend on individuals. Like आपको कितनी ज़रूरत है, accordingly it will be given to you. But then I'll give you some 10 tools today. And after that, I would like to open this discussion for uh, question and answer. And then I would like to take your questions there. I suppose I would like to take a small break and then just close my uh, screen here, and probably there's too much of sunlight coming here. Just give me a second and I will be right back. So I'm back and it's much better now. So let us go for the first part of the discussion that I told you that we'll be taking you through. What I mentioned is uh, orientation. And I think before I take you to orientation, let me just take you a little bit into flashback. Look at the first level of preparation, first level of examination, preliminary examination. Preliminary examination is one in which you have got, uh, shall we say, same set of question is being asked to every student. Students may be coming from different background. There'll be somebody from mechanical, somebody from economics, somebody from history, somebody from mathematics, somebody from some law or management or whatever. So students are different, questions are same. That's the PT level, preliminary level examination that we have got. The second level that you have got is mains. In mains, what you have got, the same questions is asked to everybody. Students are still different. And the little bit of difference that comes is in the optional subject. That's a different set of exam that we have got and the different set of demand. I want you to basically have a clear idea. I want you to understand uh, uh, an absolutely clear idea as to know as to where I stand in this examination or this level of examination. The third level which I'm talking about is your interview level. Interview level is absolutely different because here you have got आपका क्वेश्चन डिफरेंट है, आपका बोर्ड डिफरेंट है, and then you are the center of everything. I would like to take off this discussion from here onward only. This is the only level of the three levels of examination where you are the center, you are the focus. And quite often, while you're preparing, your focus is still like PT, your focus is still like mains, your focus like is still like comparing with others, like is my thing is better than others or not. No, you are competing almost always in all levels with your own self. Here it becomes very obvious and clear. यहाँ पे आप सिर्फ और सिर्फ अपने आप से compete कर रहे होते हैं. There is nobody else who is competing with you, and that's something which is what you have to keep in mind. A constitutional body has a bespoke board with bespoke questions specifically made for you, and that is the nature of this interview that you have got. Remember, you are the focus. So when you're preparing for the interview, why I was saying all this while is because when you're preparing, keep yourself as the center. A lot of time हम अपना सेंटर अपने ऑप्शनल को बना लेते हैं, करंट को बना लेते हैं. We make our center of the observations of the people that they have got. I suppose it is very important you keep yourself in the center and then only orient everything, all your preparation from that point of view only. And that is a unique component that we have got. And I think a lot of time because of the missing focus that they have got, people have not worked on their spoken personality, people have not worked on their body language, people have not worked on their thought process, people have not worked on their uh, engagement and interactions and expressions. They have worked on collection of information, and then there's so much of cognitive overload that they have got. They are actually clueless as to how to handle them. So पहला तो चीज मैं आपको एडवाइस कर रहा हूँ कि you have to bring the focus onto your own self. And now this is a long time preparation that we require. In fact, there are a lot of small things, small issues that you come across while you're preparing. In fact, I have started collecting a lot of facts entirely based on the experience that I have had from the thousands of students. I can safely say in the country, I have got the largest number of people who have interviewed. I suppose I don't need testimonials. They are available on the KSG website. And then based on their experiences, I know your pain points. I know कहाँ पे दिक्कत होती है. And that's not because I have done for 5 years and 1 year. No, I have done it for 30 plus years. And then so many thousands of students that I have interviewed personally. I know your pain points. Keeping that in mind, I have started a series of writing blogs, and they're available on KSG website. They're very fresh and dealing with some of the pain points that you have got while preparing for this examination. The description would have those details about those blogs. I like you to read them, and I think there are some more which I'm collecting, and then I'll be passing it on to you. And there are finer points about it. Nevertheless, I think I'd like you to tell you as to in your orientation what you should be doing. First thing, I have already told you that you become the focus, and that is what I basically wanted to have. First thing. The second thing which I'm trying to tell you is that you have to have. I mean, if you can write it down, I'll be very happy because you'll not miss out on anything which I have collected for you. You should develop orientation about yourself. Imagine if you were to take interview of your own self, what kind of question would you have asked? Because there is nobody. When I say nobody, I actually mean nobody. Nobody on this planet Earth who knows more than you about you. So what I basically would like you to do is that अगर आप खुद अपना इंटरव्यू ले रहे होते, make a long list of questions that you would ask to yourself, looking at your DAF, looking at something which is not there in the DAF, but then it is there as part of your personality, and then you end up expressing in one way or other. Make a long list of questions if you're taking interview to yourself. What would have been the questions list? That's one. Second is likely to do is that take your own orientation from outside in. This was inside out, outside in. That's what the interview they would be having. They would enter and then take your views. I don't know what I'm doing, but then you understand this. And for that, I would like to take you to go to people who you have interacted with over a period of time. Let's say, for example, talk to a friend that who's preparing with you. Talk to a person who has known you as a child. Talk to you who's known you as a friend. Talk to somebody who has known you as a colleague, and ask them. If you were to ask 5 questions to me, what would be those 5 questions? Take as many dimensions as possible, and then that would be an outside-in view about yourself. Make a collection of the questions about you. The second in that itself, I suppose for last 2 years I have been recommending people also to use agents of this um, whatever AI that we have got. Give as much detail that you have got about yourself, and tell them that I'm going to give interview this year 2025-26 for UPC Civil Services. What are the possible questions that I can expect there? Make an exhaustive list of the questions there. So you have got a questions list that is from your own self, from your colleagues and friends. Thirdly, that you have got from your uh, chat GPT or AI that you have collected. And then the next that I would like you to expect is that I suppose get into the mind of the interviewers. Now, how to get into the mind of the interviewer? You to get into the mind of the interviewer, you have to first see as to from where they are getting their feed. So you have to generalize or you open your mind, horizon of your mind. And for opening the horizon of your mind, I would like to advise that please you go on to see from where they are taking their feed. They are taking their feed from newspaper, from journals, from channels. I'll tell you my generation, the kind of journals and channels that we would be reading. Like most of the people are reading the most selling newspapers like Times of India, Hindustan Times, maybe Hindu and Express also, which has been there. Maybe the magazines that we have, Outlook, India Today, Frontline, etc. Maybe the channels like Doordarshan and BBC, CNN, Fox, etc. Al Jazeera. I don't want you to watch all the channels. I don't want you to read all the journals. I do not want you to read all the newspapers. What I want you to do that is go to their website. And while you are there on their website, try and see as to what kind of issues are being raised by them. Yes, that's enough. So just see what are the issues being raised by them. And that would be one idea that will get you as to what is from where their questions can come. And that will be actually mainstream your mind, because your mind has been so much confined to the syllabus that they have got. And I think this is another orientation I would like to develop. I maybe a little repetitive, but then I must tell you that we have one that is orientation of the self, orientation of the outside, that is for from the machine and from the people. Third is orientation of the interviewer by getting their mindset from where they are getting their feed. And fourth is that I'm talking about UPSC orientation. Orientation of the UPSC is very vital. A lot of people do not know about this, and I think I would like to tell you that please be careful about it. There is an orientation of UPSC also. And that orientation, when I say, I basically mean that they have a long list of items on which they want to see do you fit into this or not. I think there are 7 to 9 items that they have listed in the extraordinary gazette. Like we have got mental alertness, critical power for simulation. Then they have got clear and logical exposition, balance of judgment, variety and depth of interest, and I think intellectual, moral integrity, etc. All those 7, 8, 9 items. I think we have a blog which will be coming on these also. I have tried to expatiate these words and the meaning of. I like you to have the orientation of these words also, so that you have to see that when I speak, is um, mental alertness is coming or not? Is critical power for simulation is there or not? Is balance of judgment is there or not? Is variety and depth of interest is reflected or not? So when you get to see your answer, you would be able to know the orientation of UPSC. So all these four orientation for the self, from the outside, from the interview perspective, and also from the perspective of UPSC, if you have this four orientation ready, that's a very good starting point that you have got for your mindset to be prepared for going for the interview. Now, the preparation part of it. The second part of the discussion that I would like to take you into is where we are trying to prepare ourselves. And for preparation sake, जब हम तैयारी कर रहे हैं, तो one thing that you should remember that your personality has evolved over a period of time. Like for example, जब आप when you are doing this uh, preliminary, your mind was working only when the triggers of those options were there. So you trigger the trigger, and then based on that, you would just like to highlight those points. Then your mind moved from that level to the next level. Expression, like, I mean, you were more of a textual person. You would see a question and then produce an answer. Remember, in both the cases, the mind is lazily thinking and absolutely fine. Because in mains, no matter how much you complain about the time being less or tight pressed or whatnot, it's irrespective. The mind is required to think at the speed of your writing. And that's it. That's good enough. But the gap between mind and mouth is very less. And a lot of people need to be trained about mind mouth uh, integration. Because quite often, what you speak is not what you're thinking. What you're thinking is not quite often that you're speaking. You speak something else and you're thinking something else. So, mind mouth integration is required. And for that, I would like to tell you the first thing that you should be doing is that you should evolve as a spoken personality. For you to evolve into a spoken personality, I would like to give you 5 suggestions. 5 suggestions for you to improve as a spoken personality. I hope you all understand कि हमारे दिमाग में चाहे कितनी भी चीजें हो, कितने भी अच्छे facts हो, and if you are not able to express, pointless है. तो क्यों नहीं हम टाइम रहते हम अपने आप को तैयार कर लें? Why not to prepare ourselves for the actual interview where my spoken personality is effectively delivering what I wanted to deliver. And trust me, it's a skill, it can be done. But जो मैं आपको 5 advice देने वाला हूँ, please write them down and then start practicing. Anybody can speak, anybody can speak. And the great speakers, they are not born speakers. In fact, उन्होंने भी practice कर रखी है. That is why they are able to speak. I suppose the first thing which I would advise you is to do some loud reading. And when you're doing loud reading, please do loud reading with the punctuation references also. Emphasis on certain words there, like words there. If there's a full stop, I mean, you better stop for a brief part of a second and then move on. Not like that. You stop and then you move on to the next statement. I suppose loud reading would definitely help you into that. The second exercise of your spoken personality is that I call them as like flow development. See, while you have been preparing and then you have cleared mains, you become a chota mota celebrity in the eyes of the students who are preparing for this examination. Catch hold of those people, innocent people who have to give exam in 27, 28, 29, like that. Ask them to come close to you and then teach them certain topics, especially the controversial topics you're not very clear about. If you're teaching them, I can promise you one thing: by teaching to them, your mind would unwind or kind of disentangle. And then there'll be a lot of clarity happening because there's a, I mean, let me think of a situation that we have got a big debate going on, like what is in store for India when we are engaging with Afghanistan vis-a-vis China. But China is thought separately, Afghanistan is thought separately, and then versus the two, even Pakistan you have thought, but then China is not thought. So I suppose at that stage, you would be probably first time speaking to them, and these innocent kids, for whom you are already a Didi and Bhaiya who is going for interview, is a celebrity. They would listen from their whole body and help you develop your flow. And that is one thing I want. Encourage them to ask you some subsidiary. When they're asking subsidiary, your mind would create some more facts. So that's one exercise I like you to do. First, loud reading. Second is flow development. The third exercise is reverse of the flow, that is ascendancy. Catch hold of some people to whom you are not very familiar with. When I say not very familiar with, I basically mean your mother's friend's friend, your father's friend's friend, your professor's colleague, who know that you exist, but then you're not very informally open with them. Catch hold of them, request them, can I get your 10 minutes, and then you ask me 2, 3 questions. And when they're asking question, your mind would start giving those pointers in a manner which is more formal in nature, unlike the one that you had here for the juniors that you were doing. And then this is one exercise of ascendancy, even in the mock interview. I suppose the biggest benefit that you have in the mock interview, you get into that formal condition and then express yourself, and in a more, I would say, formal manner, you are expressing yourself. So ascendancy practice, that's the third thing I would like to tell you that you should be doing as part of your spoken personality evolution. The fourth thing which I would like to tell you is that mind has to be trained about contracting and expanding a particular idea. Like sometimes they would ask a very simple question and would expect that you are expanding that idea. So you have to be mentally prepared as to how to expand my idea. They can ask you like, tell 5 reasons for this. You can think of 2 reasons quickly. Tell me about the meaning of your name. Tell me the five, these are the questions actually they have asked. Tell me the 5 impact that you have by the meaning of your name. Never thought 5 impact. Sometimes you have to expand. Sometimes they will ask you that there's one suggestion that you have got, which will be responsible for end of this tariff war. Now, this tariff war with whatever that is going on in the world today, and with one point that you have to add, which point will you take? You might have to suddenly contract all that and then pick up one from there because they're asking for one. In such condition, I suppose it is very important that we train our mind for expansion or contraction. Quite a few years back, keeping this requirement in mind, at KSG, we have developed a technique called e-mock. I suppose the older years e-mock should be there. You can watch them. Where what we do is that we ask you a question, and then suddenly on the screen there is a timer starts, and you have no control of the timer. Sometimes the timer is for 15 seconds, sometimes it is for 90 seconds, sometimes it is for 40 seconds. Within that seconds, your mind has to complete that answer that you have to get. Sometimes you have to expand, sometimes to contract, and that is one exercise which I like your mind to do. So I suppose that is another thing that I am expecting that you should be doing. That is expanding and contracting practice, and that helps you gain that agility in the mind to be able to really explain a particular thing or summarize a particular thing. That's the third or fourth exercise. The first is loud reading, second is flow development, third is ascendancy, and fourth is expansion contraction practice that you should be doing through EMOG. The This year's EMOG we will be launching soon after the results. But then if you want to do some advanced practice, you're welcome. They are available on the YouTube. I think we can give description of them here also in the description. That is detail of, you can just type EMOC with Dr. Khan, EMOCK with Dr. Khan. I suppose on YouTube you would find lots of so many years that we have been having them, and they're available on the YouTube. You can start practicing from there. Idea is not the question, idea is contraction and expansion. Then comes the fifth part of your spoken personality. For the spoken personality improvement, I suppose precision is important. So what I basically expect that all the questions that you have collected so far, I would like you to pick up those questions, any question you can pick up, read the question aloud, and speak for 30 seconds. When I say 30 seconds, I mean 30 seconds, not 31, not 29. Speak for 30 seconds and then record these answers. So EMOC also you record, and also this 30-second answers you record. This completes the first part of your exercise of a spoken personality. I repeat again. First thing is loud reading. Second is flow development. Third is ascendancy practice. And fourth is where you have to basically expansion, contraction, EMOC. And fifth is 30-second sharp answer picked up from the question that you lift, which the question that you have made or AI has made or your friends have made, any question that you pick up and end up in 30 seconds. And record in a camera, which I would request that you keep it 10 feet away. If you're keeping your camera, mobile camera 10 feet away, you tend to emote. And when you're emoting, I suppose its expression gets all the more better. And that is something which I am expecting that you should be doing. Now, this completes the first part. The second part that I'm coming to is that you go for the audit of all what you have spoken. 2 records that you have got. One is of EMOC, another that you have got is of that, what we just mentioned to you is small 30 seconds answers that you have got. And then first time when I'm asking to see it, is that you cover the camera, and just let the audio to play. Just do audio and audit it. Audio audit means like, am I having lots of filler words used? Or I mean, just let the audio only be edited by you and then make observations about it. And best is that you write them down. When you're writing them down, your mind processes it better. So I think I've got lots of filler. I think I am using one word. I am using I think a lot. I think whatever you have got, you write them down. Second time, you switch off the sound and just look at the body language. Look at the way that you have expressed yourself. Those expressions, just the audio, the second part. I suppose first only video or audio, and then second time only one thing, and then after that you go for audio visual, the third one. And then for third one, in fact, I would like to tell you that there are uh, different exclusive audit that I expect you to do. One audit, that is demand supply audit. When you're listening to your own answer, think about the question. What was there in the question? What I'm answering? Is the demand supply met or not? Because a lot of time they are I suppose this may be a little final point to tell you, but then if they're asking how can we reduce the impact of poverty from the people living in urban areas, and then you ended up talking about what are the causes of poverty. So command is how, answer is on what. If answer is why, you may be answering on something else. So one has to be careful about that. That is, the command has been properly taken or not. Another thing, is it something which is where I have got depth and diversity in my answer or not? I would like to talk about is that this is a final point. I think some of you will understand. If I've got like one point only, I've laterally expanded, or I've got diversity in that. There is a depth, lateral, vertical balance in my answer is there or not. So I suppose you have to audit that demand supply, where I have actively listened to the question and answered. I have not spoken, I've answered. Speaking and answering are two different things. So ask yourself about that. Then also try and see, is there a clear opening of my question or not? Is a clear closing of my answer or not? Because a lot of time people have a V-shaped answer. Here is the answer. They start from here, they come here, and they end here. It has to be like this. Start from the core, end at the core. So opening, closing audit has to be done. Third, you have to see that is there something special in my answer? A lot of time we have specials to offer, but we heuristically responding, I'm not in a position to really get to that. Start demanding from mind. Is there something which is what compelling for the people to give me 200 plus or not? If not, what could have been there? I think in psychology, you may read about spontaneous trait transference, STT as we call it. Read about it. I think this is not the right platform to really go on elaborate about everything. But then spontaneous trait transference, if you've got something there in the answer which compels this person to give you a higher score. Because everybody speaks, everybody gives interview. But some come back with 200 plus marks, and while some get less than 150. The difference is in the answer, not the nature of the board and the question that we have got. And then I suppose I like you to be very careful about that command word there, and then opening, closing there, lateral, vertical there or not. Also something special there or not. Also, is there some horn effect? In psychology, they call the word as horn effect. Horn is like the satanic horn that they have got. You've got a beautiful answer, beautiful everything, but then the horn basically spoiled the whole thing. I like to give a metaphor of you are boiling milk for producing rabdi, and then put some 2 drops of vinegar in that. It ends up as paneer. So one has to be very careful about that. Are there some sins which are committed or not? There are quite a few sins people commit in the interview room. I think one of those sins is a softer sin, is uh, suboptimal consumption of time. Speaking on a very basic question on which they have nothing much to impress, And these sins can be cause of those concern and then the poor score also. Quite often they give an image that they're difficult to train. Remember, they have called you for interview to see that are you trainable or not. And then if you give an answer, yes sir, but yes sir, but is a untrainable trait. It's a very fine thing that people quite often very lightly use it, which means like this person is putting its own, this is a nice boy, nice girl, but the problem is it is difficult to train, and that goes against you. That's a sin. It can be yes sir and not yes sir but. I think there's a small thing. If you're smart enough, you will understand what I'm trying to say. Also, sometimes extreme statements that they have got. The most important thing has to be done like that. First of all, these extreme statements are also sins which a lot of people commit, and you have to be careful of that. Even those sins that I call them, like uh, showing some political party orientation, or for that matter, caste orientation, ideology orientation, individual orientation, and then regions orientation. There are lots of stereotypes they have got. These can also be sins. So I like you to basically filter your answers in audit, that there is no sin of these sorts that we just mentioned is existing. And then you give an answer which is acceptable for a very high grade. And that is important. I think what I've tried to tell you so far is that you have to orient yourself mentally as a spoken personality. And for a spoken personality, I gave you those pointers through which you can orient yourself. And for that, I give you those 5 references. And then I would like you to give, I gave you those ideas about how you should audit all that. You have got a filtered expressions given, which is definitely scoring for good marks. Now, I would like you to take you to the next part of our discussion today, where I'm going to give you some tools. I would like to give you 10 tools that you can possibly keep in mind. Um, while you are, of course, these tools will be dependent on the person who is going to use it. So depending on the person who's going to use it, this tool will become significant. I suppose these are like must tools, I call it, that you all should practice. But these tools, having them around and using them is two different things. I'm making you sensitive today. I expect you to practice on them. Get back to us. We'll be more than happy to have these explained and then train you on them. In fact, we have got a soon after the uh, results are out, we will be having our interview guidance program will be launched. But then important thing that I would like to tell you is that uh, uh, unlike the mock interview, which have their own utility, we I particularly focus on uh, giving you individual orientation of your own requirements, because I know the panels are there and they are very close to what UPSC is there. You can have lots of choices, but I am one person. Uh, I can promise with the longest experience of doing the same job in the country, I can definitely identify, pinpoint those requirements and have them curated in you, make you practice in that, and then ensure that you are using them in the interview room. And that is, I'm saying with conviction because it has been confirmed year after year by so many students. And then a lot of top rankers I seem to be having pride in. In fact, we have worked so hard on ourselves that we are able to attract good students for the interview preparation at KSG. For now, I like to mention about those tools. First tool I like to share is the tool of articulation. What I mean by the tool of articulation, you are able to express in a manner and that is received by the person, not like the person has to pick up 1 point from here, 1 point from there. It's a structured answer that is coming to that person. And for structuring, I like you to basically have an opening, a body, and a closing. An opening, I suppose, like you should do an anchor statement. Let's say if the question is that what are the causes of poor AQI of Delhi? So you look at the command is what causes poor AQI. So the topic is poor AQI of Delhi. Causes is the point that we have to look at. And what is the command? If they ask why, if they ask how we can address, So the moment we have this word, what is present, why it is past, how it is future, keep these terms I just referred to you in mind and make an opening line. The multiple ways we can attend to the quality of air of Delhi, if it is a how we can. Why? There are several factors which are responsible for it, whatever poor AQI. And I think this gives also a good mental anchor to think about it. The mind starts picking up facts from there. And that is something which I like you to do, practice with, anchor a statement. And after that, use templating technique. There's so many templating techniques, like you have got temporal templating, like in short-term deliverables, long-term deliverables, or you can have those thematic templating, like administratively this can be done, technologically this can be done, socially this can be done, or you can have those numerical templating, like number one, this can be done, number two, demand side, supply side, so many templating technique, and then ultimately give a closing line. And then closing line should have something of the expected components also to be given there. So this is how you do articulation. Of course, I've given a very brief version of the a very brief version of the whole thing. Of course, you can uh, definitely do a detailed version when we are practicing individually on you. Then also, the second thing I like that you should be practicing on is engineered silence. They call it pause, a break. I mean, that, let's say when you're listening to the question, your mind is in retrieval mode. When you're producing an answer, it has to change the mode. And then when you suddenly question ends and you answer, I suppose, you know what? A, you have been passively listening because your mind was preparing for answer. You're not getting all those command word and keyword and the tense. You're not getting that. If you, and also you're not giving respect to the question setter. And also you give an image that you are rote personality, not a reasoned personality which has got, I think a person who can really produce good answer. So I suppose it is very, very important that you have this anti-rote approach you should have. Let it be composed. Have couple of seconds, maybe breathe and a half that you should have. And then you speak, breathe in half. And I suppose that is when you can really speak better. So that's again a thing that you have to practice and actually execute also. You'll find the quality of answer really changes, at least 30-40% better answer you can by just having 2-3 seconds break between the question and the answer. The third is you have to manage your intellectual and emotional velocity. And now these are like very technical terms that I'm using here. Intellectual velocity is like, I mean, if they ask you some question which is prepared, you tend to forget the actual scope of the question and get too much into that. If there's something which is very close to your heart, let's say, for example, you are a person from sociology and then you have been feeling about women issues a lot. I think then emotional velocity basically produces so much of force that it can possibly be dangerous also. And then also, you have to, I think uh, quite often open-ended questions that you got. Tell me about yourself. What is your vision of life? That emotional velocity. How do you see India in 2050? Emotional velocity quite often overtakes. So, and then you lose connect with the ground, and that is something one has to be careful about. So, I would also like you to tell you that you should maintain your intellectual and emotional velocity. Then another thing which I like to mention is that another tool is that uh, you should have intellectual agility, not intellectual agility means like it's not that you should miss out on integrity. So a balance between intellectual agility and integrity should be maintained. Of course, it'll be beyond the scope of this platform to explain this, but then there are a lot of students who miss out on that. Also, sense of proportion should be there. Like if they ask you, imagine that you are the Home Minister of India, how would you improve the national security? That is something you do not know the condition in which the Home Minister works. Or for that matter, quite often they ask you are the district magistrate, how would you like to deal with this problem? You lose the sense of perspective at times and you start talking about as if you do not need a training, you do not need experience. one has to maintain the sense of perspective, and that's also another tool which I like you to keep in mind. Then also, I like you to maintain anxiety triangle. I think some of you may research on that and read a little bit on that. You make a triangle and do a T. So you get three parts in that anxiety triangle. I mean, that's basically they do in CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Uh, Anxiety basically, which is expressed, is the upper part is thought, anxiety because of thought. And when I say thought, uh, is the inner monologue that you have been having. You have been thinking about yourself, that what will happen, etc., etc. Then the second part of that anxiety triangle that we have got is emotion. Emotion of anger, sometimes that you are not well prepared, and then the questions came from there. You're not very happy with yourself. I mean, you sometimes you have got uh, too much of happy about a particular thing, and then also it basically ultimately takes you to so long, and that you become anxious that hey, other my time has been burned. And the third is behavior, action that you have got, the way you speak. That also adds to anxiety. Look at this anxiety triangle, and that is also a cause of concern. Then tilt hierarchy is another technique I like to tell you. Tilt hierarchy, when I say, I basically would mean that it's not that you do not take a stand, but you have a baseline uh, of no compromise. Let's say, for example, baseline of no compromise for me is my national interest. I cannot compromise on national interest no matter what. So that's my baseline. And then that's the Supreme Court judgment, the Constitution of India, the laws made in the country, collective wisdom of the country. I mean, these are like non-negotiable tilt hierarchy that I have got. And I think I would like you to, for controversial issues, how to really camouflage and how to use those hedging technique. I would like to tell you as to how to handle those questions which are of that nature. Apart from that, we also have got hypothetical question. A lot of time they give you hypothetical question like, in your area this has happened, what would you do? I suppose the standard line that we have got for them is that you first triage. When you're triaging them, you would understand the importance of Eisenhower matrix. In Eisenhower matrix, I think some of you may be knowing it already, urgent and important. And something which is urgent and important has to be triaged and then taken on the priority, the first one. Then you go for the ground reality, the information and resources that you have got. So triage, ground reality, and then after that comes this long term. So if you have a hypothetical question, take in this manner, and then you will be very effectively dealing with that condition. And then it has to be trained. You have to be sensitized about dealing with such situation. Then after that, we have got another problem. In fact, it should not be called as a problem, but to me, it's a problem. Is cognitive load management. You have been preparing very intensely for such a long time, and while you have been preparing for such a long time in such an intense manner, you already have got so much of uh, cognitive load, and you do not know how to handle that. And sometimes you get stuck in some area. How to break the circuit? The circuit breaker is a technique which I can safely say I developed that. And then I tell the student, and then a lot of students have come back from the interview and this like, thank you very much for that circuit breaker technique. That really worked in my case. And then I was able to eject out of a controversial uh, question, or from a tight corner, because these are all various skills that I have evolved and developed over so many thousands of students' experience. And I think they're available for you. Get in touch with me. In fact, a lot of things which I have been talking about here, they're very generic in nature. But then when you get contextualized, when I ask you a question and you answer in a particular manner, I would say that, hey, this template would have been better here, or this kind of hedging technique should have been applied here. And this is where you should have applied circuit breaker, because a lot of you who may have got uh, not very great marks in the past, let's say you got 140, 130, and maybe even lesser than that, I have a particular experience of taking the same person to a very high score. Get back to me. I would like you to do some exercise. First, we'll diagnose, and then we'll do some exercises and ensure that you become proud of showing your mark to your kids or the next generation that, hey, see, this is my interview marks. Because people of all the three levels of examination forget everything, not the interview. I recently was watching one of the videos of our honorable foreign minister, and he was talking about his own interview when he had gone into the interview room, and he was the first person to enter there. And then that's the day when the emergency was lifted, and he was like, I could see that special uh, brightness in his eyes when he was speaking about that episode. So I meet a lot of people who are retired or post-retired or close to retire. They have forgotten everything, but every moment they spend, every single second they spend in the interview room, that's very bright and fresh. Such is the power of this occasion. And I think you have worked very hard. And I would not like you to let it go like that. I would not like you to take it lightly. I do not want you to actually miss out. Hey, I wish I could have prepared better. No, I mean, this is the most powerful part of it. And the kind of ratio of score that you get is amazing. Look at that. You have got 200 plus marks got. I mean, I think what kind of ratio that you have got, all whatever you may have done in the past, that gets really, really taken care of if you have got good performance here. So I suppose I would be very keen, but then I am a very intense person and I do it myself. And there will be a limited slot that can possibly be offered. And then I would like to work for so many hours, but then I would like to work individually on you. So get back to me. I would be very happy to pinpoint and use all the experiences, and then get probably one more thank you message from you after getting a greater score. And that is the greatest reward that I'm looking forward to. I'd be very keen on working on you. But I suppose I was told by Mr. Ankit that I should be having some time saved for the uh, questions that you have got. If you got any question, you can type it down. I think I can see them in my uh, chat here. I'll be very happy to have them answered. Do you have any question? How can we, Biraj, how can we adjust our lacuna during the preparation for personality test? I think I never use the weaknesses and then lacuna word. I call them as uh, opportunities of improvement. So if you take that as opportunity of improvement, I suppose that's what the job gets done. So I would like you to first know what is that opportunity of improvement. I mean, I think the classical glass is half full or half empty. The approach that I like to take now is that I'll fill it. So where is the lacuna so-called, or where is that opportunity of improvement? Depending on that, I will give you a bespoke advice, and I promise, uh, Abhiraj, that this can be definitely filled. And don't worry about that. Uh, Requesting senior is fine, but requesting junior is tough, sir. Requesting junior, don't request them, order them. And the moment the result comes, they start flocking around. Probably the results have not been out yet. That is why you're thinking about it a bit. But definitely, once the result is out, they will start coming back to you for your advices, and catch hold of them, make them sit in front of you, and teach them most controversial topic that you can think of. I have seen some EMOC videos with questions online, and that's the same that we're talking about. Yes, uh, I usually write in V-shaped answers. Will this impact my interview expression? Yes, it will, because the time is very limited, and then they want answers. So if they have given a command, you better be giving answers. Like I suppose quite often, if they ask your name, you cannot start with name is something with which somebody is identified. No, tell them your name, and that's it. Uh, will surely reach there. Yes. How to structure them in a better way, sir? I mean, this is very simple. I mean, to structure the answer, it is important that you do the articulation technique well. In a question, that you look for those keyword, you look for the command word, and look at the tense. How we can check the rural-urban migration in our country? Why we have rural-urban migration in the country? So if the command word is why, if the command word is how, and then you can possibly accordingly look at the tense. Why is past tense question? How is a future tense question? So depending on the tense and the command word, while the keyword remains same, that is rural urban migration, you can make a opening line. There can be several steps that can be taken to check the rural urban migration. There are multiple factors responsible. Make it opening line, keyword, command word, and tense. These are the three things through which you can make it. And then after that, go for templating. And then after that, you could possibly have a closing line, and closing line with a hope and optimism. And that is something which I can basically expect that you can have. Of course, there's a lot of practice that can be done around this, and through that, you would be able to know it better. I suppose if there are more questions, you can always reach us. I'll be very, very happy to have them answered. In fact, you can reach out to our centers. And then I would like to be personally available to any one of you who have registered in time and then have booked your slot. I would like to work on individual, because the changes I think can be brought about only when you are the only person on whom I'm focused and I'm working on. And then that's the way I suppose the differences are made. I would like you to identify your strengths, because each one of you got a strength. Sometimes you are not aware about it yourself. So I let you know about your strength and have them capitalized so that you actually get all the great score that you have always been eyeing at. I suppose that's all we have got. You can send your queries via WhatsApp also. I think this number will be available. And drop in your number. We'll be happy to send you the answers, queries, and I would record them and have them sent back to you. On this line, I'm wishing you all the best for the results, which is going to come soon. And then after that, we would be very much eager and working towards the final journey of your evolution. And remember those small, small points that you have made. Otherwise, this video is going to be available on YouTube. You can take down those notes, and if there are certain things which are not clear to you, you can always get back to us and start working on that. And I hope to see you for the interview preparation after a few days. All the best and good night.